Hello guitar teachers and students, welcome back. So today is part 4 of our series on triad shapes that work in rock and punk and metal and stuff like that. So if you are a fan of any of those genres, you are certainly in the right place. So at this point we're up to 5 different ways to play a given chord, which is a lot, right? And so far with every chord I've introduced, there's been worksheets and supplements and stuff, and everything kind of builds on the last thing, which is great. And I think you guys will find a lot of value in it. But I also recognize that there may be space for just some technical exercises to take somebody who's sort of familiar with all of this stuff and sort of comfortable with it and turn them into somebody that could do it in their sleep. And that's really the level that I want for you guys. You know, I want this to come effortlessly when you're out there with your bands writing songs and, you know, doing the thing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so now that we have a goal in mind, which is to make all of this effortless, step 1 is going to be to just make one chord effortless. So we're going to go with C major. And as somebody who's already familiar with power chords, I'm going to assume that you're already pretty comfortable with this regular C power chord on the E string, and then the Johnny Ramone style power chord on the E string, and of course the same too on the A string. So from here, what I like to do is start adding in other shapes and making basically like a chord scale. So in part 1, we learned the root position triad. Here's a link for that. And we're just gonna add in that shape and play all the shapes that we got so far from low to high. After that's comfortable, we can add in the first inversion triad shape that we learned in part 2. And once that's comfortable, we can add in the second inversion triad shape that we learned in part 3. So this may seem like a lot right now, but the key to this is, really the same as everything else. So your goal is not to learn all this on a Saturday afternoon. It's to make small, consistent efforts that barely take up any of your time until one day you realize that this is just a thing that you can do and you've achieved your goal. So once you got one chord down, I'd start working toward a chord progression. So notice that I said working toward a chord progression. So if we're working towards something like C, G, A minor, F, just start out with C and G. And you're gonna run it through the same additive steps until, once again, you can just play it like a scale. So once we get into 3 and 4 chord progressions, you'll notice that your stuff starts to sound a lot like what we ended up with in the last video, which is awesome. That's a definite milestone. So this kind of thing, which is what you're going to end up with in various positions, uses what we call voice leading, which you can think of as moving as little as possible to get from one chord to the next. So it's an excellent skill to have because it really lets you decide what range to play in, right? So if someone else in the band is playing down low, you can come up high, or if somebody's playing up high, you can come down low. So it's really an indispensable skill to have, you know, in the gig, in the practice room, in the studio, anywhere you might find yourself. But we also have to acknowledge that we have choices with this, right? So we don't always have to stay in one position, and we may even want to move around a little bit because it fits the song better. So one way that we can practice this is by, you know, for example, starting low and trying to move up with every chord. Or we may want to start high and try to move low. So we got our game plan now, so how can I support you in this? Well, just like the order of the information presented here, I think the first thing would be some worksheets to help you guys work out some chord scales. So I chose to do all of the natural note chords, so no sharps, no flats, major and minor. Of course, you can print out as many copies as you need and figure out how you want to use them to continue to improve your playing over time. Playing chord progressions in various positions is something that I've already hit quite a bit with the other supplements, but I do see value in having some that we work through in a sort of additive manner, so I'll definitely do some of those. Playing chord progressions from low to high and high to low is definitely new information this time, so I'll include a few chord progressions, an example for each, and space for you to work on that. Thank you for watching. Please leave any and all feedback that you have in the comments. I really want to continue refining how information is presented and supplemented here on YouTube, so any feedback you have to that end would be invaluable to me. Remember to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back next time for the last part in the series, which is a bonus part 5 on how to take this stuff and spice it up even more. I don't want to give away too much, but I'll see you then.